Mumbai Indians, arguably the strongest retained core. You've got Rohit Sharma, you've got Jasprit Bumrah, Surya Kumar Yadav, and Kyron Pollard. We know how much they love their own. They'd love to have retained at least two, if not all three, of the Pandya brothers and Ishan Kishan. They also love their growing equation with Quinton de Kock and Trent Bolt, who played key roles for them over the last few years. So, what are we looking at from in terms of the Mumbai Indians? Akash Chopra?
See, if you look at what they've done in the past, you'll find that they have always had aggressive openers. Left-handers, they prefer left-handers from Sanjay Jayasuriya to Quinton de Kock. You'll find there's a lefty at the top with Ishan Kishan. So they will still go very hard at Ishan Kishan and Quinton de Kock, at least retain, somehow find a way to get at least one of them, if not both. Both might be tough, is what I think. First choice won't be, I think, Trent Bolt. Everybody first is Kagiso Rabada if he's not there. Then you look at Trent Bolt, then you look at Lockie Ferguson, because that's another side of Mumbai Indians, right? That they need pace. Whether it's this season or seasons to follow, their bowling is all about fast bowlers. So you've got Zahir Khan, Jasprit Bumrah, and Mitchell Johnson, Mitchell McLennan. They had tall bowlers who get some extra bounce off that Wankhede surface. Spinners are not as effective. So they will go hard at the faster bowlers. They'll go hard at the aggressive openers. If it is not Quinton de Kock, it could be very well be Johnny Bairstow. If if they can't get Ishan, they can't get Quinton de Kock. They want their keeper to bat. They will not have a keeper who's just a keeper who bats at 5 or 6. They're not going to be happy with that. But one thing they might have to change some goalposts are they've had the luxury of a lot of all-rounders. 5, 6, 7 had the Pandya brothers and Kyron Pollard. They do have Pollard. One Pandya brother is already gone. He's leading Ahmedabad. The other guy, I don't know whether they'll be keen to get him. If they can get him, that's another issue. But so they might have to change their tact a little bit this time around, because there aren't too many all-rounders available. If they're not available, why go search for those things that are not there? Then you try and have another plan, which might just be equally effective.
One of the things that successful teams like Mumbai and I think CSK have done, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that they've always got their overseas fast bowlers at a relatively cheap price. And then when the fast bowlers have obviously performed exceptionally well, they haven't really bid up at the big options. They've let them go and look for other options. And we've seen that with Chennai, from Bollinger to Southey to Josh Hazlewood, and whether Mumbai will look to do that again. And they probably have as well. Patterson was successful for them. Nathan Coulter-Nile, they got cheaper price, and then Bolt was obviously their marquee. So I think they'll want to see that similar dynamic, and Akash mentioned it around their all-rounders. I think they've realised that brings so much success. They understand that they've covered their top and bottom with Bumrah and Rohit Sharma. I think to have those two makes such a difference. But can they bring together a group of all-rounders that allows them so much ability when selecting a team? And that's what set them apart. That's what set CSK apart as well. And I think that's what Delhi tried to get to as well. So that group of all-rounders just allows so much.
They trade very well. That's one thing they did well. Bolt came in on a trade. Quinton de Kock came in on a trade. So they've been trading really well for the last few seasons. GS?
Just one more thing. I think, and GS, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Mumbai Indians has ever spent more than 10 crore on any player in any of the auctions. Is that correct? If that is, you do have the recipe that why they're able to do what they've been able to do all these years.
Yeah, I guess so. Because their retention costs, they kind of retain, and they retain players at pretty high costs as well. So Chennai and Mumbai, I think this kind of approach might fit. I think both have. I think Kunal was close to 9, and I think for Chennai also, I think Gautam was close to 9. But I don't remember too many very 10 crore plus picks, and that's where scouting network, and that's where the kind of eye for talent matters a lot. So especially Mumbai. That will again come to test this time. Can they identify that Marco Jansen kind? I kind of upped his stock a little bit. Maybe they should have scouted him now rather than last season. So they may not get him back again. So certain players like that, I remember they got Behrendorff one season and he did very well for them. So it's very important that, like Dan said, certain skill sets all teams have to find that X factor by and back that player and hope that player will do well. So there are some teams, so that's where the culture, that's where how the talent fits in your team, all that matters a lot. The same talent may not do well somewhere else. So if Mumbai can kind of crack that, they would go heavily on Indian batters, guys like Rahul Tripathi, Ambati Rayudu. These players are ideally suited for Mumbai kind of wicket and would fit well with their team. They need to kind of replace that. The keeper is where what is very interesting. They have De Kock right at the top. If they fail to get back De Kock, would they go for Ishan Kishan? Yes, obviously. But if they fail to get Ishan Kishan, what happens? I'm very curious to see. So they need to have an overseas batter who's a keeper and opener as a backup to avoid to have a if they don't get Ishan Kishan. So that's how I think they would look. And I don't know who that overseas keeper opener batter is, but we'll come to that. Yeah, Bairstow it is then.
Interesting.
I'm saying Ishan Kishan or Quinton de Kock anyway.
This Kishan factor is interesting, isn't it? Because we already spoke about it in the completely unrelated chat that there were players that could have aligned with other franchises but didn't. But here we know that Kishan has at least given MI the opportunity to get him back, right? Of course, it's not in their control how the auction goes. But Naga, what are the chances? Kishan back to MI, perhaps their number one target for a lot of other franchises, but MI with the chance to get him back?
Well, it's a gamble you take where he comes, even if you have kept aside a huge sum of money of the pot for Kishan, you're taking a gamble still if someone else grabs him. Whereas I would think that the two players Mumbai will definitely want if they had the powers is Quinton de Kock and Ishan Kishan. Okay, Quinton has been the best batter. Numbers support that. In fact, I would think if they are smart, go for Quinton, get him. Forget Ishan. And they can get Quinton because they can invest about whatever the amount of money, like about close to 8 to 10 crores, that bracket, and get Quinton. And you don't need to bother with Ishan. If you get him. The biggest thing for them is finding a fast bowler. Will they go for Trent Bolt? That's another point. Mumbai have always had a soft spot for a left-arm fast bowler in a way. So they've been looking for. They had, just mentioned, Behrendorff in between, Bolt. Then you had Fizz also. So they would look for someone like that. So I think Bolt, if from marquee lot, get Bolt and get Quinton, and Mumbai will be very happy.